Cool. So, hi, Annabelle.
Hello, how are you?
Sorry it took me a while to jump on.
No, that's fine. We were like, come for 20 past, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be nice and organised. Yeah. Cool. So I can see that we've got 16 of you with us. Let's have a little look. We've got a couple of questions already. Oh, Zoe and Ben saying hello. Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us. So what we're going to do, just a little bit of housekeeping. So me and Annabelle are going to talk you through all things 11 Australia liquid demis, and we are periodically just going to have a little look at the questions that come through. So there's a little chat box. So please, anything that comes to mind, just ask. No question is stupid. So yeah, please just ask away and we'll keep checking in and you'll see our nostrils as we're looking at the questions. But yeah, it'll be really good. It'll be really good to get this quite interactive. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Katie and I'm one of the educators for 11 Australia. And this is Annabelle.
I'm also an educator for 11. So yeah, I've been working with 11 for about a year now. Katie, you've been with them for a little bit longer. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, if you have any questions, just ask away. The first thing we're going to be kind of talking about is formulating colour. The whole thing really is about formulas and formulating colour. But yeah, I think that the most important thing when it comes to formulating colour is realising that it's not a one-size-fits-all. So we will give you some of our like go-to formulas and stuff like that. But I think the most important thing to remember is it's not a kind of like, one size fits all. Like every canvas is going to be different. You can't use the same formula on everyone and expect the same results. Like, would you agree?
Yeah, totally agree. I think one of the great things that hopefully we can give you today is some confidence to go and create those formulas yourself. Like Annabelle said, we have got some of our favourite formulas to share with you, and we are going to go quite in depth with them. We can tell you how to kind of tailor them to somebody that wants to go a little bit darker, a little bit lighter. But I think what the most important thing to go away with today would be for you guys just having a little bit more confidence to have a play around with it and understanding why you're choosing the colours that you choose. So without further ado, let's kind of introduce the colour. So for those of you that don't know, this is our just lovely place behind me, our 11 Australia liquid demis. They are 42 shades. They are all completely intermixable. Are you okay, Annabelle? Have you frozen?
Yeah, sorry, I was just breaking up. But
are you okay? Are you back?
I'll go on data. I think that'll be better.
Are you okay?
Okay now.
Cool. So yeah, one of the main things I would love to get across in this little chat is that the colour is a complete multi-use colour. So I don't know about you, but when I look at liquid colours maybe a year ago, all that I was seeing out there was maybe toning, root shadows. So when I first took on the liquid colour, I was very set in the way that I was using it. And I think one thing that's been great over the last few months is I've really opened my eyes to see what the colour can offer. And yeah, I think there are so many possibilities with it. Yes, it's great for your root shadows. Yes, it's great for your balayage work. There's a whole host of other things that you can do with it. So for those of you that are watching live, how do you use your liquid colours? Pop it in the Q&A box and we can just have a little look and see if you guys are using it to your full potential as well. Because I know some of us weren't, up until a few months ago, we've definitely changed a little bit as an education team, haven't we?
Definitely. I think kind of like even up until recently, things like what comes to mind is root shadows and glossing, but you've also got like low lights and, like because it is alkaline, you can get the white hair blending. there's so much you can do with it, and like later on we're kind of going to go into the difference between like 2% and 4% and breaking the base. And like I know we're all so scared of breaking the base, but when that can actually be a good thing, and like how that can just completely change your color work. And that's what makes 11 so kind of like multi-useful, I guess. Like there's so many different situations you can use it in.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of guys coming through saying that they're new to using it. Ben, one of our other educators, has been using 4% for toning, which is quite a new thing for him. I think sometimes we're also worried, like you say, about breaking the base. So 4% has been a bit of a revelation for us. Natalie says she uses it for everything. Well done, Natalie. You had an amazing educator come to you, I think. So that was me. No, yeah, Natalie's really great. So she's really enjoying the colour, really getting on with it well, using it to its full potential, which is lovely to see. Oh, I love your little 11 mug. I should have brought mine in.
Yeah, I was going to buy 11 jumper, but it was a bit hot, so I thought,
yeah, it's a bit hot. Who else is saying, I use this toners, Claire. Yeah, so I've used this toners all over so far. Yeah, so they are great for toners, and I feel like that's probably what we all think of liquid colours primarily for toners, but actually hopefully today we can kind of just show you that there are so many other uses for this colour as well. So I guess one of my biggest tips, I don't know about you, Annabelle, is that when I stopped trying to compare the liquid colour to the colour that I was already using, I then was able to kind of really open my mind to the colour.
I think that's a big part of it is, you know, when we had our training the other day, like Lisa was saying, it's learning to understand the colour and how to formulate the colour. How can I recreate this formula that I would use in Redken or Weller or, you know, any other kind of colour house?
Other brands are available.
Yeah, you need to be thinking like, what would I use in 11? Like, why would I use that? And actually just thinking with your like 11 brain, not with your...
So like rather than thinking like, oh, normally I would grab this off the shelf, what can I use 11 that's going to be exactly the same? Like that is definitely the wrong way to approach using a new color line. So if you want to get really confident with your color line that you're using, regardless of what it is, but you know, specifically today 11, you have to really think about the basic things that you actually want. So you know, it doesn't matter what another color line comes out like. If you actually think I want it to look like this, what tone do I need? What depth am I going to? So really thinking with your own perspective on it, rather than, oh, I normally grab this one tube off the shelf and you know, that's what it comes out like. So I find that quite exciting because I feel like it's really teaching us to be colorists again. You know, I always start with, so when I always try, well, the way that I approach a new color line is finding out my favorite warm shades, my favorite cool shades, and my favorite beige shades. So for me as a stylist, that works really well. You know, for somebody else, that may be my favorite pink or my favorite copper, or, you know, so I feel like it's super important to kind of choose what's important to you, experiment, find that, and then you can just go off and break the rules and try so many new different things. But if you start with that, that's a great base.
Yeah, I think as well, so much of it comes down to like really going back to the basics, because I think so much of the time, like I did a post on it, was like, are you formulating or are you just guessing? Because I know I was doing that. I'd like look at it, and then when it's wet, off my lightener and be like, use a bit of this, bit of this, bit of this. Hope that, like, you know, it came out how I wanted. But I think, yeah, breaking it down, thinking like technically again, like you said, like getting yourself to really like be a colorist and not just thinking, oh, I want to recreate what I used to use here, and like having your go-tos and things are great, but actually breaking it down step by step is what's really going to get you that result. As long as your consultation's right, if you break it down correctly, then you're going to get there.
Yeah,
that's why I think Yeah, the consultation sheets we've got are really good for breaking that down. Even for college, they are really, really good. Go through it mentally in your mind. Okay, like what is natural depth? What's the percentage of white hair? How's the porosity? What bands are in there? What existing colours there? And break it down and really like take your time to formulate it, and you will get the result.
Yeah, definitely. I think like also what's super important when you are kind of thinking about your formulations are being completely honest with yourself. So you know, a 9 is not a 10. So if you are looking for a really super cool or, you know, really super bright blonde, and you have only actually lifted it up to a level 9, doesn't matter what you put on it. Doesn't matter whether you've got the correct tone, doesn't matter whether you are kind of using something completely new and you're just winging it. If you want a 10 and you've got a 9, there's no budging it. You're not gonna get the result that you want. So I think, like Annabelle said, your consultation is super important. Actually looking at what you've got in front of you, like don't lie to yourself. Like if there is warmth there, like leave the lightener on for a little bit longer. If that's not an option, then you need to go a little bit darker. You need to use some stronger kind of pigments, some ashes, and, you know, do you need violet ash? Do you need blue ash? That's where your color circle comes in. So I'm just going to grab my color circle a minute, just so I can show you guys this. So I did an education session, a couple of weeks ago, and one thing that I found really interesting, they were amazing colorists, they were great, they had just started using the color, they were having a little play around with it, and I think they weren't really kind of thinking with their color circle. So I always start my education sessions off banging on about the color circle, and you can see people kind of like, yeah, we know the color circle, you know, it's one of the basic things that we're taught when we're younger, isn't it? Or when we're not even younger, but when we're just starting out in our hairdressing career. But I always say never underestimate the color circle. Like, so we started talking, so I'm just going to show you guys here so you can see. So it's just, you know, a standard color circle, but what's great about this is just in your shade chart. Is that it does show you where the colours are positioned. So one of the really interesting things that happened in this situation, they were having a play around with it, and what actually ended up happening was that their hair turned a little bit green. So they put an ash on there and their hair turned up a little bit green. So the hair was yellow to begin with, and then they put a 3-1 on there, which sits around here. So a 3-1 is gold ash, so it's blue ash. And then they put a 2-1 on it, which at the moment we don't have the stickers for. 2-1 is a new, one of the new shades that has been brought out recently. So I haven't actually got a sticker on there yet, but you know, it's sitting around here. So if you think about it, we had yellow, then we had beige, which sits around here, then we had ash. And they were kind of wondering, before they looked at the color circle, why it had gone murky and green. And I was able just to get this out and be like, what do you think, guys? Like, why do you think that happened? Yeah, and it's so simple, but it's something that we completely overlook. They were just like, your hair's yellow, let's put some ash on it. So I was saying, if you would have used this color wheel, what in terms of 11, what you would have ended up using would have been a 2-5. So you would have ended up using a violet mahogany, which is the most beautiful shade, and it would have looked gorgeous over her yellow blonde hair. So, you know, even when you're kind of comfortable as a colorist, using your color wheel is just so important, especially when it comes to a new color line, because they are all sat on there for you. We are going to be getting, well, I feel like we're going to be getting new stickers to put the new shades on. I don't know, we'll have to ask for that.
Right. Yeah, but it's so true that I feel like so much of the time, I know I've seen this a lot, where, you know, you lift it really light, or you lift it to, like, say a level 9, like a pale yellow, and it's like, okay, we want a really cool result, let's put a 1 on there, like a 0.1, like an ash, and you expect to get that result, and it's like, oh, it looks a little bit green, or it looks a little bit, but it's so right what you're saying. If you really go back to the basics, like, you know, blue and yellow, what does that make green?
Yeah,
and like,
totally.
yeah, just thinking, okay, maybe pretty big with like a violet, like a 0.2, or if you use something like the VA, so that it, you know, it counteracts and then you get the ash deposit afterwards. It's just sometimes don't underestimate colour circle.
I know, and all of those
So
options
true.
are completely right, aren't they? All of those options will work, but it's just looking at it in a slightly different way. What I love about the violet mahoganies, hands up guys if you've used the violet mahoganies, because another thing that I get quite a lot of my education sessions are people are scared of the 0.5, the mahogany. They feel like it's going to be really red. And one thing that I always say is we have a gold mahogany and we have a violet mahogany. So we have a 3-5 and we have a 2-5. And one thing that I always say is the 5 for me, what it does is it makes the 3 that little bit more special. So it just pops it down to the kind of peachy gold, and it makes the 2 just slightly more ashy. And it just gives it a little something extra. For me, that's where I'm giving you a bit of a sneak peek of one of my favorite formulas, but that's where I kind of get my really silvery kind of tones. So don't be scared of the mahogany. Is anybody saying that they are scared of the mahogany? Let's have a little look.
Just quickly, I have a question. Zoe says, do you think about neutralizing first before selecting your colour?
I personally do if I've got something there to neutralise. So if I've lifted it up and, you know, maybe it's a little bit warmer than I would like it, or it's kind of got a little bit more yellow, I guess, like say if I'm lifting up from quite a dark base, I expect there to be quite a lot of warmth there that I'm going to have to counteract. So yeah, I guess I do. How about you, Annabelle?
Yeah, I would say the same. And I also think a lot of the time, you know, it's not just about neutralizing. I think when you're glossing, it's either, okay, am I trying to neutralize or am I going to enhance this? Because sometimes, you know, we lift a blonde to like say a level 9 or a level 10, like a pale yellow, and we're like, okay, right, purple shampoo, like 0.2 V, like let's neutralize. But if you're going for like a bright golden or even like a creamy blonde, you don't want to get out all of that warmth. You actually want some of that warmth to make it look healthier and brighter and shinier. And like I even think that now, sometimes even if my clients want quite a cool result, I'll add some gold in there, or like I don't want to neutralize the whole thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's been a bit of a game changer that for me though, if I'm honest, like adding gold to get a bright cool blonde, like that blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Like that is one of my favorite formulas now, is obviously like we'll go into them later, but half V and half G. I think corresponding colors together, just like if you're looking for like a neutral shade, whether that's a root shadow or a gloss or anything really, and you want that like neutral shade, going for corresponding colors seems like it makes no sense. Like I know we had this conversation before and Joe was like, why would you use a V and a G? Like what's the point? Surely they just counteract each other. But yeah, I feel like using them together creates such a nice neutral, because you get such a good like balance of different tones.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I love about this range as well is that you can really intermix the shades. So you can literally put them all together. I mean, you'd end up with some kind of murky messes. So you have to really think about why you're adding them together. But you may have noticed, like when you've looked at the shade chart or you've looked at kind of what we've got out there, that we've got like, I'm just going to get it out here, that we've got like a 3 and then we jump to a 5. So it's kind of like, well, where's the 4? So in really simple terms, you can make a lot of different shades, like the shades that are missing, you can make. Sorry, Annabelle, I thought you were talking now.
That's the thing. I think we had this conversation. Yeah, it's kind of the colours that you think are there, they actually are, but you just have to mix them.
Yeah, and totally.
So another, like, I feel like it actually gives you so much more freedom, because instead of, like, my connection's really slow.
I know, you're breaking up a little bit, I think.
Oh, am I? Let me try and sort my Wi-Fi out.
I think another great kind of, you know, just being really simple about it, like mixing your ends together to get your 4. You know, you've literally got anything from a 3 to a 9. But when you're looking at like your coppers and stuff, I've just got, the reason I'm looking down is I've got my shade chart here, that's all. But you look at it and you've got your 5cc, you've got your 7cc. You want a 6cc? Great, half and half. You know, mix them together. Yeah. So it's super simple. Like, just because you don't have that depth there, have a little play around with it. Like, we've got a 9 copper as well. We've got a 9 copper gold. So if you wanted to add a splash of kind of something special with a little bit of gold in there, and you wanted to take it a little bit lighter, you can get an 8. So in terms of like the coppers, really, we've only got 3. We've got a 5, a 7, and a 9. But you can make a 6, you can make an 8, and you can even make a 10 by adding the clear in. So it has so much versatility. Are you back? Are you working? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Oh, Annabelle, we're losing you. So Zoe says 10 through 5 is, oh, are you back? Are you back?
Am I back?
You're back. You're back. Yes.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, so let's have a little look. And I think also, like Annabelle was saying, in terms of like mixing your violets and your golds together, or your ashes and your golds together, they create some really beautiful neutral tones, some beigey tones. And Ben's just said something really interesting. Oops. Let's have a little look. Ben has just said he loves 1 gram of 5 violet violet. So 5 violet violet is one of our fashion tones, with 10 grams of clear as a pre-tone. That's right, isn't it? But if you think about it,
I love that though. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I think actually that's a.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because they're like, that is so brave, but actually, you know, technically it makes sense. So it's just what we're used to doing and what we're not. And I think a really good tip to do as well is, if you feel like that and you think, oh, I like the idea of that, but that's a bit scary, don't know if I want to try that on a client, just get some swatches, you know, go on Amazon or eBay and get some swatches of hair and sit there one evening and have a play around with them. Like, look at some of our formulas, come up with some of your own, and just get creative and try it on some swatches. And if it goes wrong, then, you know, it's not on a client, but you will find you come up with some really, really...
Thanks, Kelly. Oh, I had muted myself. Oh, Annabelle, are you back? Who gave us this job?
Honestly, I don't know why it's so bad. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point, actually, Annabelle. Like, the minute I said what Ben had been using, the 5VB and a bit of clear, you were like, oh my God, that's brave. But when you actually think about it, like, it's 1 gram in 10 grams of clear. So it's super diluted. He uses it as a pre-tone as well, he says, just kind of wash out any little bit of yellow. Yeah. I'm guessing you could kind of use it on its own as well. It sounds beautiful. It's definitely one that I'm going to give a go. Also, another thing that I love to do is, like, when you actually look at some of the double, so Ben's like made a really good point on the violet violet. So we have other ones like the gold gold and the ash ash. So they are quite intense tones. Like, if you're just using them on their own, they are going to be like the gold gold, the 9 gold gold. Like, we've had a bit of a joke about it because it is very, very pigmented. Like, it's super gold. And sometimes it can come out very, very bright. That on its own is definitely more of a fashion tone. However, if you did want to use it to kind of spice up your 9 gold or your 9 gold mahogany, you would just add like a couple of drops into it, like, rather than using it on its own. So you find your gold, you find what you like, you find your base where you want to be, and then you can kind of mix around and just spice it up a little bit with adding the double pigments in there. And just have a little play, kind of gram by gram.
Yeah, just add a little bit in and then you can get braver. But yeah, maybe don't use it by itself straight away, because I have done before, and it was very bright.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, to be honest, a lot of people will probably shy away.
Can you not hear me?
Like, yeah, no, I can hear you. You can hear you. I think like that will make people kind of scared of them. But if you use them in addition to your other colors, like it will just give you, that's where I say, like, find your favorites first of all, and then have a play with it. Look at your double tones and see whether you can add a gram here or there. The other thing that I just wanted to touch on just quickly that's come into my head is, like, when I say this color is multi-use, like, because it is an alkaline color, like Annabelle was saying, it does actually kind of do something. So you will get, like, you don't just put the color on and leave it and then you wash it off and you go, oh God, that's done nothing. Like, it will actually add depth and tone. So if you want that, then that's great. But if you did want it slightly more translucent, to go over your balayage, or to maybe just kind of have a hint of tone in there, then one of the really underestimated products is adding clear into it. And this will just give you a slightly more translucent tone. So it doesn't change your tone. It keeps the same depth, it keeps the same tone. It doesn't change it. It just slightly reduces the intensity of it. Annabelle, I know that you've been using a lot more clear recently from your Instagram posts.
Yeah, I have. I've been having a good play around with clear, because I didn't really use it so much. But I feel like you're right, it's so underestimated, and it's so versatile as well. There's so much you can do with it. You can use it by itself, just as, like, you know, almost like a treatment, just for like a super high shine. Or if you do one of those colors where you're like, oh, it's lifted so nice, I don't even think I want to gloss this, just put clear on it.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
you know, you can use it just reduce the opacity of like anything. So say you've done like a really nice set of foils and you want like a slight shadow on there, but you don't want to completely like cover your highlights, add some clear into your root shadow.
Yeah.
Or, you know, create some pastels with like fashion colors. There's honestly so much you can do with it. You just need to like remember that it's there, because it does just get forgotten about, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So somebody, an anonymous person, hello anonymous, says that they love the being put together. Zoe says that she loves the idea of adding clear. She loves 10 GA, 10 VA and clear to create a neutral blonde.
Yeah,
that's great. I love that.
I've tried that too.
Yeah. So another kind of selling point and great thing about the 11 color is that you have 2 different developers with it. So maybe in some other color lines, to get a different result with your liquid colors, you would have to actually buy a completely different liquid color bottle. Whereas with 11, we just use the same liquid color. We just switch up the developers a little bit. Tell us, Annabelle, how you like using the developers.
So for so long, I'm not gonna lie, I was just 2%. Like, I think most people that use 11 color mainly just use 2%, unless it's white hair blending, then, you know, you go to 4%. But after our training with Lisa, and she was talking about how she would only ever use 2% if you're doing a root shadow and like you really don't want to bump the base. And I was like, hardly ever use like 4%. And like she was talking about bumping the base and like how, you know, in the UK we're all so scared of it. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have a little play around with it. And now I've been using so much more 4%. And like I've actually been breaking the base a little bit. I feel like I'm kind of breaking the rules.
Yeah, but it's so good.
Like it feels I think
what it is like you're just looking at everybody kind of saying that breaking the base is a bad thing, and for some people, like if they don't want that kind of look, then maybe it is. But if you're intentionally breaking the base like you've been doing, like some of your colors have just been like just stunning recently when you've been using it in a slightly different way.
Yeah. Do you know what I really like doing is if I have a blonde and she's like, say like a level 8 naturally, which is quite rare, but I have quite a few of my clients are like that, and they want to be really, really blonde, and they want to be really blonde and sun-kissed and stuff, and you're not looking for like super high contrast, then I've started using 4% in their gloss, and it does like bump their base, but because they're already like a level 8, it's not going to go like really, really warm and be like a horrible mess. But on like warmer blondes, and if they're light naturally, try it. It's really nice. And they, you know, it won't be such a huge difference because they're already so light. But if they want that kind of full coverage blonde, then give it a go. Honestly, I was shocked. I was like, I kind of don't like how much I love this. Like, it feels wrong, but
it's so wrong, but it feels so right. I think also it's really good to note if you don't want to break the base. If you don't want to break the base, then 2% on slightly damp hair, like you're not going to get any base shift whatsoever. So like it's amazing that we've got the option for that. Another great thing about the 4% is it just intensifies that shade. It goes that little bit deeper into the cuticle, and it gives you more of a kind of brighter result. It's going to last a little bit longer. So if you're doing a fashion color, or you've got very little dimension, like Annabelle was saying, like you're not worried about kind of the dimension and keeping the natural in the hair, if you want to kind of bright, buttery, golden blonde, then 4% it up, baby, because it is beautiful. So another thing that you touched on earlier is the white hair blending. So 4%, we get beautiful, beautiful white hair blending results with our 4%. So you do have to use a little bit of the natural range. And one of the things that we're going to do a little bit later, me and Annabelle, is pop the kind of percentages that are recommended for the white hair blending in terms of using the natural range to a tone. We're going to pop it up on our stories a little bit later because we don't want to kind of go into that too much. We want to keep it talking about formulations. But we can also use the liquid colours to use some white hair blending as well. So it's great in between your balayages. It's great for those clients that don't really want to come out having used like a permanent colour. Although now that I say the permanent word, we have had a little question saying, what are we the most excited about the new permanent range? So we've got a very exciting kind of drop, hopefully coming around the end of the month. We have been lucky enough to have a little preview of it and have a little play around with it already. And I guess for me personally, the thing I'm most excited about the permanent range is A, the high lifts, because they are absolutely stunning, and B, the absolute shine on the colour. It's just insane. No colour should be that shiny.
It's insane. I think for me, I've just been using 11. Like I've kind of converted all of my clients from permanent colour. Like, come on, have demi-permanent. And I was a little bit like, oh, like I'm excited for this, but I don't know where I'm going to use it. I feel like for a lot of people that do like lived in colour and blondes and balayage, permanent colour is a little bit, you know, you don't use it so much anymore. But actually, like when we had our training as well, I was like, I was wrong. Like there's so much I can use it for. And that's what's made me really excited, is it's changed the way that I think about colour, I think, as well. And it's made me super excited just to start using it again. And like you say, the high lifts, like I've always been a bit like, not sure on high lifts. But I've tried them out on lots of different clients now, you know, on people that are already blonde. I've tried it out on like darker virgin hair just to get that like sun-kissed balayage, and they are really, really nice. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for high lifts to like make a comeback.
Yeah, I love a high lift. I've got a couple of clients actually that they want the balayage look, they want the lived-in look, but they don't want any lightener on their hair. Like their hair's quite fragile. They've had bad experiences in the past. I've tried explaining to them that we've got a gorgeous 7 levels lift that doesn't have any ammonia in, that it's really lovely. But yeah, they just want high lift. And so now I've got a gorgeous alternative for them. So anyway, back onto the demis, because this is about the demis, guys. Yeah, but watch out for the permanent, because you will not be disappointed. So I guess now what would be really lovely is to talk about our favourite formulas. So guys, do you have any questions that have kind of popped up whilst we've been chatting away? If you do, please put them in the Q&A.
Yeah, I think if we go through like some of our favourites, I have some written down. I don't mind if you want to go first, if I go first.
Have a look. I've got a few written down as well.
Any...
yeah, let's see if there's any questions. Kelly is saying that 4% is so beautiful. Loving it.
Yeah. We love 4% now. Yeah, I'll go first then. So I'll go through some root shadows first. I'll share some of my favourites, and then you could do some of yours as well if you like. Because I think that's one that gets asked a lot, is root shadows.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I feel like for me, like my absolute go-to for so long was just 7AG. But what's really nice is now, like, I found a few ways of keeping that kind of similar tone, but changing the depth a little. So if you want like a 7AG, but you want it a little bit lighter, you can add a little bit of 8N. Or if you want a 7AG and you want it a little bit dark, or going half and half, that's really helpful. Another one of my favourite root shadow formulas at the minute is actually one that I stole from Joe, and it's half 7GM and half 8MT. And oh my God, it is just so nice over like a blonde or over a set of highlights. I've never ever have thought of using GM in a root shadow, but it is just, it's stunning. Like, you've got to try it.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favourite ones. So like, I would agree with you guys. If you wanted to like grab a pen and paper as well, just to jot some of these formulas down. This is obviously going to be recorded, so it's going to be sent out to you guys so you can watch it and kind of fast forward to this part if you don't have a pen and paper. But yeah, I was going to say that 7AG for a long time like was my go-to root shadow. Like, it was kind of my neutral root shadow. And we've just got a, oh yeah, Ben, can't wait to try that one out. So yeah, we've got a neutral root shadow, and it was great over my my balayages, and it didn't take it down too much. It wasn't warm. It neutralized a little bit. Another thing to notice, actually, a note just as I'm saying this, is with the 11 shades, what we have is that we have two tones here. So the first one is the primary tone and the second one is the secondary. So what we've kind of around about been told, and it's not exactly the same for every single bottle because it's too hard to kind of pinpoint, but it's that the first tone, the major tone, is about 75%, and the secondary tone is about 25%. And I think that's really, really important when you're formulating, because you can really just look at it and see, and if you keep that as a general rule, you can really see what kind of how the tones are sitting and what you may need to add in there if you wanted to change that around a little bit. But yeah, going back to our favorite root shadows, so I would say my 7AG was like where I was sitting on quite a while. And to darken it down, I really love adding in a bit of 6 ash. So that was always my kind of favorite, kind of more brunette root shadow, was 7AG and 6 ash, half and half. Nowadays, though, to get a slightly darker root shadow, I love the 6 muted, so the 6MT, which is a grey blue base. So sorry, grey green. So we have our green in there. So if you've got any little bits of orange and unwanted warmth, that's just going to help to neutralize it a little bit. So yeah, so that's how I used to kind of darken it, but now I've moved over to my 6MT. And then I'm with you. I stole it from Joe. I absolutely love this 7 Gold Mahogany and the 8MT. It is just stunning. One thing that I have started doing with mine, though, is adding a little bit of clear. Yeah. Because I want the translucency. Like, I do want it to just sit that little bit softer through there. So I've been doing like 10 grams of each.
Nice to have that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's a good idea. So like that.
Yeah, just one.
I think it's important to mention, when it comes to root shadows, don't go straight for your natural, like especially in 11, because I think we've had this issue before. Like I know I was doing it, I would kind of go straight for like an N when it came to a root shadow. And Annabelle, oh, we were both like, it's really warm. And the thing that we found, I think this was the reason, if I remember correctly, that the ends in 11 have more of that, like the underlying tone of that level in them to help with the white hair blending. So when it comes to a root shadow, don't just go straight for the end. Try and be a bit more creative. Think like, you go for an MT or an AG or something like that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The MTs as well, like.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, if you want.
Sorry, I'm like 5 seconds.
And no, you're fine. If you wanted like a richer root shadow, and you're doing a blonde, then sometimes they are beautiful, like they are what you want. But if you want a more neutral shade, then the ends aren't your go-to. I think that's such a good point.
Yeah, I think as well, like the MTs, like don't be scared of them just because it has got green in it. The primary, like, it's a grey green. It's not, you're not putting a straight green on there. It's not going to go khaki. And you can use that with something else, or you could just use an MT as a root shadow. If you're working on like highlights that haven't lifted to like a level 10 and they've got that warmth in there, try just putting an MT on it and you will get more of a neutral result.
Yeah, definitely. Another lovely little root shadow that I like, which is perfect for like, when your clients want to stay super blonde, they don't want a lived in vibe, but they just want a tiny little root tap just through here because they don't actually want a harsh regrowth. Like they want to keep it super, super bright. They don't want any dimension in there. Like they're not a lived in babe. They are just a blonde babe. And I'm here for that, by the way. Like I'm loving like packing those foils in again. But yeah, so one of the ones that I found quite early on and has stayed a firm favorite of mine is 7 Natural. So I know you were talking about like don't just head for the 7 for the N range, but this is where for me it works really well. The 7N and the 9 Violet with a little bit of clear in there. And yeah, because the 9, are you writing that one down? Look at us, we're learning. Because the 9 is a pastel range, it's slightly more translucent anyway than say like the 7, the depth of the 7. So it kind of brings it up. You're sitting on around about an 8, and then a little bit of clear in there just keeps it slightly more translucent, and it's just beautiful. I just dab it and then blend it a little bit. That's another thing to note. Actually, we've had a question come in about how long we leave our root shadows on for. So one of the main things that we've realized is that in the early days we weren't leaving our root shadows on long enough, because when the color oxidizes it does look quite dark and it does look quite scary. We were all just rinsing it off really, really quickly, and then we weren't really getting the result that we were hoping for. So now what we do is we actually leave it for the full 20 minutes. We don't even have to walk away and bite our fingernails anymore because we know it's going to be okay. Like in the early days, we're like, this looks black. And your client's sitting there like, where are all my highlights gone?
Yeah, I've got roots again.
Yeah, but now we know, like after you've used the color quite a few times and you've left it on for 20 minutes and you've walked away, we always bang on about kind of trust the process. But I think if you're using something like a 7 Ash Gold, or you're using one of the formulas that we just talked about, like Annabelle was saying about the 7, what were we saying? The 7MT and the 8MT and the 7GM. So the gold mahogany and the muted. If you're adding a little bit of clear in there, it's not going to go darker than a 7. Like, it's not. If anything, it's going to be slightly above a 7. Yeah. So even if it looks like a 2, it's not a 2. You can trust it and walk away. So 20 minutes for the root shadows as a minimum. But another really good kind of tip is, because it is alkaline and it is doing something to the hair, you do have to blend it. Like you can't just slap it on and not really kind of think about what you're doing with it and walk away, because it's actually going to do something to your color. You are going to need to just blend it softly. So like when I was saying about my root tap, what I would do is I would tap it really gently, and then afterwards I would blend it down to where I wanted it to be. So when you're doing your lived in like vibes, what I do is, say if you want it to come to here or you want it to come to there, always go a little bit less, because you know you're going to be kind of blending it down.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think it's so important to get that blend, because it is, you know, it is alkaline, and like you say, it is actually going to do something. It's not kind of just sitting on top, it's actually going into the hair. You really want to make sure that you get that blend.
Yeah, totally. And it's not hard, like, but you just have to, what I do is I apply it kind of this way, so that it's kind of that softness, leave out my face frame, and then I'll go back through and just section it off and just brush it through with, like, you know, I know, Annabelle, you have got a Sheila Stott. I have lost my Sheila Stott. I have lost it somewhere. It's out there. It's out there. So all I've got is a cheap tangle teaser, and it still works. Annabelle's frozen. Are you back?
Yeah, it does the job. It does the job. I've only just got it. Oh, did I go off again?
No, you're fine.
So we've got a question. I find the liquid 2% can travel on a root shadow.
Yeah, so I think what you probably, it does travel because it's a liquid colour. So like you have to think about where you want it to come. So like I was saying, if you want it down here, then you'd apply it here and blend. But another thing is that if you don't want it to be so dark, then that's where your clear comes in, and that's where you need to be adding your clear so that you get that translucent effect that you're going for, if that is what you're going for. So I think, yeah, it's kind of using the color, like I was saying, not trying to pick a shade because it resembles something that you've used before, but really thinking about this color line and thinking, what do I want to achieve? Do I want a slightly, you know, more of coverage through there that is going to gently soften and gently come out, you know, because anything that you color on blondes does, you know, let's be honest, but it does last a lot longer than, say, some of the other brands. It is a beautiful kind of lasting color. But if you wanted that kind of translucent look, then just add your clear in there. Like, you can't go wrong with it. Another question that we've had coming in is, do you apply your glosses at the same time as your root shadows? I feel like this is very personal. I actually do, because I feel like I want to do it to save time.
I'm
and
with
I don't
you.
see anything, you know, I kind of feel like I get the result that I want. So I've never not done that. The only time I wouldn't have done that, and I don't know about you, Annabelle, but the only time I wouldn't have done that is if I'm just doing a root tap and I'm not actually glossing the ends.
Yeah,
but that's it.
Think I'm very similar to you. I normally would. I would normally put the root on so I can let that develop, you know, the full time, and then the gloss I would probably develop for another 10, like 15 minutes, and just kind of, I do my gloss a little bit more visually, but I do also think, you know, trust the process, don't just rinse it off straight away. But yeah, like say, it's a very personal thing. Like I am actually going to start trying it the other way and like do my root shadow, rinse, and then do my gloss and just see if it makes any difference. But also I just quickly had to mention with Karen's question, another thing as well, like you say, the 2%, like if it travels, another thing we've kind of like discussed and discovered as well is that, like, don't do your root shadow and your gloss when the hair is too wet. Like, towel dry it a little bit as well. I feel like not only will, you know, it's not going to dilute your colour so much, it's also, it's going to give you more control with your application. And you won't, I don't know if you ever find this when you do a gloss and like if you rub it too much, where it has got the kind of like the like sulfates and stuff in it to help remove it from the scalp and the hair. If you rub it too much, it's going to start to emulsify and it will start to remove the colour a little bit. So just kind of like apply it on gently, and do it on like hair that's like a little bit towel dried as well, and then just, you know, with your porosity spray, and it will give you a bit more control.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's such a good tip. And I think that's what I was doing wrong. So we keep mentioning Lisa, but we had an amazing training session a few weeks ago now. And Lisa is she's like the lady behind the colour. So we were so fortunate enough to kind of meet her. And she just really inspired us. And she really got us looking at this colour as, we already loved it, but she really opened our eyes up to like the other uses for it. And to just, one thing that I loved that she said, and we need to go back to our formulas because we've totally gone off on a tangent, but the one thing I knew we would, but the one thing that I love that she said is like color doesn't have a brain. So like it doesn't look at the hair and think, oh, I'm gonna sit there but I'm not gonna sit there, I'm gonna grab blue here but I'm not gonna grab blue there. It's like you can't just blame the color. Like sometimes yeah, I don't feel like working today on the half of the head. So you've got to really look. So one thing that I've found is like with my root shadows and stuff like that, sometimes this front bit may need a slightly different color than this bit. So what I'll do is I'll do all of this and say if this bit's a bit brighter and I want to keep it a bit brighter and I don't actually need the ash that I needed here, I'll go and add some more clear to kind of really dilute it, or I'll go and mix up another little shade there. So going back to what I said at the beginning, it's just like really be honest with yourself. Like don't just think, oh, the color's not working, the color's doing this. It's like if you're getting that result, there are so many options with this color, like it's unbelievable. So if you're finding that it's covering too much or it's slipping too much, like Annabelle said, slightly towel dry the hair a little bit more, use a bit of clear, don't drag it down as much. Try not to compare it to your other color line because it is going to be, or your previous color line, it is a different color. So just try and kind of tweak it and reach out to kind of us, Digi. The fact that you guys are on this webinar, are watching this webinar is amazing. It really shows that you're kind of, open to kind of working on your colouring skills again, which is no mean feat. When you've been a colourist for quite a while, it can sometimes be quite scary to try something new. So going back to our favourite formulas again, so I feel like we've kind of talked about the root taps and the root shadows, and there are so many other ones there, and if you do like a slightly warmer result, then the ends are great for that. But if you want something slightly more neutral, slightly cooler, then your ash gold, and like we were saying, the MT range is lovely. Also, one of my friends has just started using the colour, and we had an education day couple of weeks ago, and she messaged me with some of her formulas, and she had used the 7 ash gold and the 9 ash gold together, and so I've been trying that one. Oh my god, it's so nice. It's so nice.
Really nice.
It's a really lovely one.
Yeah.
So in terms of like my glosses, the way that I break it down is I'll look at like what I want from it. Do I want it to be warm? Do I want it to be neutral? Or do I want it to be cool? So in terms of like my warm glosses, I love the GM range. I love the 9 GM, I love the 10 GM. So it just depends on where I want it to sit. In terms of my neutral, I love the gold ash. And you're going to get like a beigey result with that. And then in terms of my cool, this is so underrated, and I even forgot about it a little bit, like for a few months as well, and I've just fallen back in love with it, is the 9 violet mahogany. So if you're on a level 9, great. If you're on a level 10, put some clear in, and you can use 9 violet mahogany and clear, and it is beautiful. It will just clean everything up without it going green or khaki. It's lovely.
Yeah, so true. I think like for me, I mean, I do mainly a lot of blondes. Like I do brunettes as well. I mean, people don't believe me, but I do. And yeah, I've had a little play around with it, and I do love, like we were saying earlier, about using like corresponding colors and stuff. So like 9V, 9G, like we mentioned earlier, that's a favorite. And when we were away as well, we tried 9AG and 9CG, half and half, with clear, and that is so nice as well.
But you wouldn't,
really
I wouldn't have expected that. Like I wouldn't have expected it. Like, and I know you've used it recently as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I did. I used it recently and it is really, really nice. You just wouldn't, you wouldn't expect it. It's really neutral.
What was it again?
Another thing I like doing is 9 AG, 9 CG and clear. I can't remember if it's all thirds, but I have it written down, so I'll put it on my story, or, you know, we can double check later.
Nice.
But yeah, another thing I like doing well is, I don't know if, has anyone tried the new level 10s? They've been out for a while, so I'm sure you have. But yeah, like it kind of goes against what we were saying earlier about toning, you know, on the level that you're actually at. But I find that the new level 10s, they're amazing, but they are very pigmented, especially like the VA and the AV. But what I've tried doing as well is actually toning with a 10 VA, but on a level 9, when it's only lifted to a level 9. And that's a really nice way to just kind of, you've got more warmth in there, but it just controls it a little bit if you don't want it quite so strong of an ash.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, actually, isn't it? Like, you were the one that said that to me, and because I was saying, I think that the reason the 10s are so pigmented is because they don't have any depth in there. So you've just got tone. But you were the one that like gave me the idea of like, actually, what I love using the ashes for. I don't know whether. So Annabelle basically gave me the idea of, no, you're fine. You're fine. I think you went a little bit funny. But Annabelle gave me the idea of like using the 10s on a level 9. And like we were saying, that does go against what we were saying earlier. But if you're using it on purpose because you know that the 10s are quite pigmented, especially the ashes, then it's great, because you are just going to get an intense amount of ash without any like dropping the depth. So yeah, another kind of like way of just getting like a safer ash is to it's just to use your clear with your level 9s, and you just get the most beautiful results. That's a little bit I find it a little bit less kind of anxiety inducing.
Yeah, because they do look scary when they develop, and like that is partly down to being an alkaline color. Like it is going to look darker when it oxidizes, and you know, sometimes you do just want to walk away, but sometimes if it is better for your anxiety, you can just put some clear in as well, and that will calm you down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Or adding gold as well, or like we were saying, or even, you know, adding a 9G or adding a 9G definitely helps.
Yeah, 100%. And so for my bronze, one of my favorite formulas are the 8 gold ash, the 9 gold, and a drop of the 9 copper. So that for my like brunette babes, I'll be using the 6MT up here for my root shadow, maybe with a little bit of clear if I want it to be quite translucent. If I don't, then I'll just go straight 6MT. I'm going to still see some of my lights through there anyway, even if I don't use clear. Because obviously it's going for a different kind of base, but I do love that kind of really warm toffee caramel tone going through the ends. So the drop of 7cc, it's like I was saying earlier, like using your shades, looking at your kind of double tones and using them as like a couple of grams in with your main toners they just spice it up.
Yeah, definitely. I need to get one of those little pipette things, like the little droppers, because I feel like that's really helpful, really good for like just adding in some of those, like adding in a little bit of 9GG or 7cc, and just being a bit braver and, you know, mixing things up a little bit. Like use them as like you would like a kicker, yellow kicker or something in another color line. Use your 9GG as that. Just put a little bit in there and be brave with it.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like we've probably got to the end of our kind of favourite formulas. Have you got any other favourite formulas, Annabelle?
Not that I've got written down. I feel like, we have covered like most things, I suppose. I feel like we haven't mentioned 8GA very much though, but that is like one of my favourite shades.
But that was the one that I just said about in my bronze. So 8GA. 9 gold.
Wi-Fi.
Where have you been?
Yeah.
And also, actually, you mentioning that, not that this is related at all, but one of my really lovely go-to shades for a low light is 7 Natural Gold. It's just perfectly balanced because you've got the natural in there and you've got the gold in there. You can put it over like really, really blonde hair and it just sits really neutral in there. Like I kind of always blend it into a little bit of clear if I want to keep like a tip out look. But yeah, like 7 Natural Gold through there. Oh, with 4% as well. So I would use my 4% for my low lights. That's a really lovely one. I did it the other day and I wanted to darken it down a little bit. So I did add a bit of 6 Natural in there. And oh, it was just beautiful. It wasn't warm at all. It's just really neutral. So
it's like fill it as well as your low lighting. So, you know, it's not going to go murky and you keep that longevity as well, especially like if you're using 4%.
Yeah, totally. So let's have a little look. So one of the great things about 11 and wonderful brands who distribute the 11 colour over here is that we are so interested in what you guys actually want to know. So if you have any other ideas for any other webinars or any Instagram lives, then please just DM Wonderful Brands or the 11 colour UK page. With any ideas, anything that you want to see us doing, just give them a shout and we will be your guinea pigs. Does anybody have any other questions that you want to pop on? We'll just have a little look at the Q&A, see if everything's been answered. I feel like we've covered most things.
Yeah, most bases, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. I actually don't know the time, so I'm really sorry. I don't know how long we've actually been chatting on about it. Lovely, Kelly.
So
lovely.
We've done an hour.
Cool. Okay, so oh, lovely. Joe's telling us we've been bang on an hour. Look at that. We're good girls, aren't we? Cool. So, guys, follow us on Instagram. Have a little look at the 11 Australia Colour UK page. They like to share our work, share formulas. Please tag them as well because it's great for us to see what you guys are doing. Also, if you look at the hashtag 11 formula, then a lot of the educators share their insights, they share their formulas, and a lot of other people who are using it also share their formulas as well. So some of them are like some things that we've never even thought of before. So it's great for us to see as well. We are super interested in having a little community on Instagram of us 11 Australia Colour guys. So please follow the educators, follow what we're doing and tag, like I say, tag 11 colour and hashtag your formula so we can all see what you're up to.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we love seeing what everyone creates, you know, especially like you say, there's like so many colours, but there's so many different, you know, ways you can mix them. I feel it's really nice when you see someone do something and put their formula on Instagram and you think, oh, I've never thought of trying that, and you give it a go and yeah, it becomes your new favourite. So it is really lovely, yeah, to see what everyone's doing and yeah, keep sharing stuff, tagging us. We love to see it.
Yeah, totally. Cool. So I think we've probably covered everything. Yeah, lovely. You're welcome, Claire. Lovely to see you, Dougie.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again soon on Insta. But yeah, any ideas for anything that you want us to do, then please DM Wonderful Brands or the 11 Australia UK page. That'd be great. Take care. Have a lovely evening. Bye, Annabelle.